we accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
First thing I want to say about this particular video is I was utterly shocked when I found out, and this is the crazy thing, right? We are still to this day given credit, right? The flat earthers and the Flat Earth Society specifically is given credit for the absolutely ridiculous idea that instead of there being a gravitational force, we are given the distinct credit of saying, no. What's happening is the Earth is actually accelerating upwards at 9.8 meters per second, right? That is absolutely attributed 100% to the Flat Earth Society. So obviously you can imagine my surprise when I found out that the Flat Earth Society, where they got it from. You want to know where they got it from? They got it from Albert Einstein. That's his brainchild.
Now, that's actually right. As I said, Einstein's theory is that what we're feeling now, we're being pressed into our chairs because the ground is accelerating.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it's like,
It's per second squared, isn't it? So that
yep.
in itself makes it, after a while, it's going to go faster than the speed of light, which, yeah, utter ridiculousness.
Yeah, 9.8 meters per second squared means it keeps going faster and faster and faster, and it doesn't give any indication of any end to that acceleration.
Ben, last time you said you agreed with Einstein's claim and believe that the Earth is actually accelerating upwards. Do you likewise believe that the Earth is now moving faster than the speed of light?
Nope.
How long do you claim the Earth has been accelerating upwards for at 9.8 meters per second squared?
A few billion years.
If it has been accelerating upwards at 9.8 meters per second squared for a few billion years, how fast do you claim the Earth is moving now?
Relative to the ecliptic? Pretty much 0 meters per second.
That makes it sound like you've changed your mind and no longer believe that the Earth is actually accelerating upwards.
Nope. But there's no point in discussing GR, which relies on differential geometry, if you don't understand basic vector addition and calculus.
You claim general relativity relies on different geometry than meters per second squared?
Differential geometry, not different geometry. Again, no point in discussing GR if you don't even know what that is. And yes, acceleration in GR is a 4-vector, which is different to how we describe acceleration in classical mechanics.
Oh, okay, so according to you, acceleration no longer means acceleration, and an object can be accelerating without actually moving anywhere.
Yep, like said, pointless discussing if you don't speak the language.
Seems like you disagree with Brian Cox now when he said that the Earth is actually accelerating upwards, and Dr. Perez when he said the same thing.
Yep. And tell me, guys, if you do not see the Luciferian doctrine at work here, I mean, the complete Luciferian methodology of absolutely turning things backwards, upside down, inside out, the entire Luciferian proposition is to tell you that what you experience is not it at all. In other words, they try and tell you that curved is level. They try to tell you that, you sense no motion and yet you're rocketing at millions of miles per hour in 8 different directions. They try and tell you that, the sun is stationary and we're going around it when in fact, the sun is going around us, and it's just, everything is completely backwards. And, and we see this, right? These are things that appear to appeal to our senses, right? But their job is to make you think that your senses are completely worthless. And they will even come up with some things that are really good things. Like, oh, see, your eyes tricked you. And yes, your eyes can deceive you. There's no doubt about that. But in issues like this, no, I don't think so.
Thanks, Bob. I fully agree. They want to blow you about as waves upon the sea, with every wind of doctrine, passing fad, and new idea. Mainstreamism even goes so far as to say science never proves anything. And we really have no way of ever knowing anything. This particular article is from the Journal of College Science Teaching. They want us to doubt the plain and observable. They even go so far as claiming Words like prove, correct, and true should be removed from our vocabulary completely and immediately. I can't think of anything more Luciferian than that, especially when it directly ties into moral relativity, where people claim, oh, well, there's no such thing as good or bad or right or wrong. It's all up here. It's pretty disturbing stuff. Now let's pay attention to what Dr. Perez-Giz says here.
Take an object with no forces on it and let go of it. If it stays right where it is, then your frame of reference is not accelerating, and we call it an inertial frame.
So Professor Brian Cox dropped his bowling ball and feather in a vacuum and claimed even though they appeared to fall and hit the ground, they were not actually accelerating. If true, then Brian Cox has an inertial frame of reference.
The reason the bowling ball and the feather fall together is because they're not falling. They're standing still. There is no force acting on them at all.
Now let's see what else Dr. Perez-Giz has to say about inertial reference frames.
Now in Newtonian physics, inertial frames are special because Newton's second law, F equals ma, is only valid in inertial frames. In other words, the net force on an object will equal that object's mass times its acceleration, only if you're measuring that acceleration using an inertial frame.
So what does this tell us? It tells us that Newton was only right about F equals ma if he was wrong about gravity. F equals ma is only right if the Earth is actually accelerating upwards. If the Earth is not accelerating upwards, then F equals ma is not valid. Try and let that sink in. This is really bizarre because Newton was the one who claimed that gravity makes things fall, while the Earth accelerating upward was Einstein's brainchild. This further substantiates my claim that Newton never claimed F equals ma. As he wrote in his book Principia, the change of motion, or momentum, of an object is proportional to a force impressed, and is made in the direction of a straight line in which the force is impressed. That does not say the net force acting on an object is equal to the mass of that object times the acceleration of that object.
Dr. Gabe Perez-Giz or whatever, has a PhD in physics, and I think also a degree in astrophysics as well. But I mean, you're sitting there listening to them, and it's like you have to wonder if they're even listening to themselves, because it is just utterly beyond belief what they say.
And what should that tell everyone who doesn't believe the Earth is accelerating upwards? That should say, don't believe in F equals ma. Now check this article out from Colorado State University. They directly say accelerating reference frames, like the bowling ball and the feather actually falling, are also called non-inertial frames, because the law of inertia, Newton's first law, doesn't hold, and clearly neither does the second law. They acknowledge that both Newton's first and second laws are wrong. Twirly Socrates, Ben, do you both agree with Colorado State University and their claim that Newton's first law is wrong?
That is not what they claim, Kyle.
They don't think the laws are wrong. Do you beat your wife before or after asking loaded questions?
This directly says otherwise. Accelerating reference frames are also called non-inertial frames because the law of inertia, Newton's first law, doesn't hold, and clearly neither does the second law. I've provided a link for you so you could read it in full and see that it is from Colorado State University. Ben, what do you claim "they don't hold" means?
That Newton's laws without modification aren't applicable in non-inertial reference frames.
Do you agree that they are not applicable in those frames because they don't work in those frames?
Sure, Without modification, Newton's laws don't work in non-inertial reference frames.
Inertial frame and non-accelerating frame are synonyms in Newtonian physics. Suppose that you're in a train car that starts accelerating uniformly forward along a flat track. Relative to the car's interior, you will accelerate backward, even though you can't identify any horizontal forces on you. So inside the train car, F decidedly does not equal ma, and the train car's frame of reference is not inertial.
So you agree with Dr. Perezguez here when he said F does not equal ma in non-inertial reference frames without fictitious forces?
Sure.
Do you agree that Colorado State University was repeating the same concept when they said Newton's first and second laws don't hold?
Doesn't hold in non-inertial reference frames, sure.
Okay, Twirly Socrates, do you agree that F equals ma is wrong? You can't agree with Einstein and Newton without contradicting yourself.
What does it mean to agree with a theory?
It means to adopt it as your own.
Why can't you adopt different theories as your own?
This isn't a glass half full and half empty kind of situation. When the two theories disagree with each other, and you adopt them both, you end up contradicting yourself. I can't be a flat earther and a globe earther at the same time. Previously you agreed that the floor and the dumbbell were not accelerating upwards. Do you still maintain the same position?
In an objective sense, I don't know. In an empirical sense, I believe GR works best of all the gravitational theories. Truth can never be known with any certainty.
Socrates, the only true wisdom consists in knowing that you know nothing.
Truth can never be known with any certainty.
Of all things, he had to say that. He didn't even have to say that. He could have just left it at, I don't know, and been totally fine. Although I think objective and empirical are kind of the same thing, but that's another story. But when he said truth can never be known with any certainty, he just committed intellectual suicide. With that statement, he has invalidated every single definitive claim he has made so far. All of that common ground that I worked so hard to achieve, gone.
I am the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing.
I told him not to go there, and he went there. I wanted to rock his foundation and shake his confidence. I didn't want to utterly destroy it. Now let's see if I can resuscitate him.
Great. Defib, 200.
And clear.
No response.
Recharge, let's go again. And clear.
No response.
Let's recharge and do it one more time. And clear.
Here's a quote from Albert Einstein that Mr. Sensible once shared with me. No amount of experimentation can ever prove me right. A single experiment can prove me wrong. Despite that being something someone would say if they were really confident that they were wrong, this tells me that Einstein was a strong believer in scientific proof. Now tell me, do you agree that to prove means to test?
That's perfectly fine.
Yes, we have a heartbeat.
Some people use proof to imply certainty. It's that certainty that I don't think is appropriate in science.
Oh, and then we lost him. Do you agree that reliability and certainty are synonymous with each other?
No, a model can be reliable but not certain. I'm using certain in an absolute sense, as in 100% certain.
Are you certain about that? Here, Let's try something different. This is Professor Victor Gisbers from Leiden University.
So for Popper, being critical is like a definition of being a scientist. And many people agreed with his idea. But not everyone.
Thankfully.
Thomas Kuhn, an American physicist, historian and philosopher of science, developed an extremely influential account of science according to which the idea that science is critical is mostly an illusion. Or to be more precise, it is an illusion most of the time. Most of the time, Kuhn argues, science isn't very critical at all. It's only at specific and exceptional moments in history that science becomes critical. So if we believe that science is always critical, we are mistaking the exception for the rule.
So Kuhn acknowledged that the state of uncertainty is just a phase that people go through. But in time, that state of uncertainty disappears.
Kuhn points out that this is a good thing. So let us return to the question of whether scientists are critical. According to Kuhn, they're not all that critical, because they don't criticize their paradigm. There's a lot of stuff that scientists just take for granted. Just like there's a lot that you as students are simply taught as the facts and not supposed to be critical about.
It is okay to acknowledge that some cats eat food is a scientific fact. Acknowledging that fact, we are then able to go forward and develop an entire field of science dedicated to cat nutrition and studying what kinds of foods are healthy for cats to eat as compared to not healthy. Despite what Popper claimed, acknowledging a cat's diet doesn't make you a pseudoscientist.
And Kuhn goes on to say that this is good, because if we were being critical all the time, we could never get any work done and there would be no scientific progress.
Okay, Twirly. Progress is defined as movement towards a goal. So long as the goal in science is to attain certain knowledge, if certainty can never be attained, then no one can ever get nearer or farther from attaining that goal, making progress impossible. I like to think of truth like a puzzle. I believe it is completable, but that doesn't mean I have currently completed the full puzzle. Never putting any puzzle pieces together at all, saying, I have no way of knowing, is pretty much intellectual death, or being brain dead. On the other hand, life, progress, and education is the process of putting puzzle pieces together. Twirly Socrates, will you change your mind on the matter? Will you acknowledge that truth is a knowable thing, and that scientific progress depends on it?
I agree with you.
Okay, there's hope.
Although I would only add two things. One, I don't know if, when my puzzle model is complete. Although I have a box lid, reality, to compare the puzzle against, I cannot see the entire box lid, and I've never found a single edge piece. Two, given that I never know if the puzzle is complete, I can never know for certain that it is complete-able. In spite of these things, I can, and must, act as though the puzzle is complete-able. I must do so because giving up loses the game before it even begins. Maybe we have one edge piece. The path of least action seems to be universal, and then Noether's theorem allows us to derive some foundational physical concepts from self-evident truths.
According to you, what would qualify as an edge piece?
A self-evident truth from which informs some or all of the remainder of the model.
I exist should qualify as an edge piece then.
Okay, I'll change my statement from, truth can never be known with any certainty, to, reality can never be modeled with certainty.
I feel like you're just saying the same thing with different words now. By this definition of the word model, me saying I have a nose on my face qualifies as a model. Do you agree that that is an accurate description of reality?
Sure. How do you know when a model is perfect?
A model is perfect when it states a self-evident truth, like, I exist.
That statement aside, can you name a single model that uses self-evident truths as its axioms?
An axiom is a self-evident truth that requires no proof. Yes, biology, the study of life.
What is the self-evident foundation of the biological sciences?
Life exists, and because life exists, we seek to study it. Do you agree that the statement, I have a nose on my face, qualifies as a model?
Sure.
Do you now agree that reality can be modeled with certainty?
No.
Thank you.
Certainty implies that doubt is impossible. Doubt is always possible. To understand or know something doesn't mean you have eliminated doubt. It just means that you have eliminated reasonable doubts.
If you agree that you exist, and that is reality, do you agree that the words I exist is an accurate model of reality?
No. It's a self-evident truth. Models are not self-evident truths. But it doesn't matter. Even if we were agree that it is a model, it would be the only one that we know to be true with certainty.
Do you or do you not claim to know anything?
I have knowledge. I do not have certainly.
That tells me you do not know anything without a doubt, and doubt the nose on my face, which further tells me that you are being unreasonable.
Doubts are not created equal. Doubting the nose on your face is not a reasonable doubt.
So don't hold on to it and let it go.
Let it go, let it go. Turn away and slam the door.
I do. I ignore them. You, on the other hand, deny them, and thereby claim to know things you don't.
Do you agree that holding on to unreasonable doubts is the thing that makes you uncertain, while letting go of unreasonable doubts is the thing that makes you certain?
I'll rephrase. You can never rid yourself of this doubt. Future evidence may bring new doubts.
Hereby, Twirly Socrates unreasonably doubts the nose on my face and chooses to forfeit.
This is just Kyle's straw man that Ms. represents ordinary scientific humility.
You just said, I have knowledge, I do not have certainly. That doesn't qualify as a straw man.
1. No reasonable scientist claims to have certainty. 2. It's a straw man because these same scientists also claim to have confidence that their models can make accurate predictions.
You don't even claim to be certain about any of that, invalidating your own claims.
A.
No reasonable scientist claims to have certainty. That statement is said with certainty, but you don't claim to be sure about that. Therein, you contradict yourself and invalidate your claim.
You have been conflating confidence and certainty this whole argument, and this is an example of it.
A hypocrite is defined as a person who pretends to have virtues, moral or religious beliefs, principles, etc., that they do not actually possess. I am not certain about anything, but express certainty in just about everything I say. That can be described as hypocritical behavior. You are conflating confidence and certainty. Is a statement said with certainty? You are probably conflating confidence and certainty. Is a statement said with confidence and lacks certainty? Herein, your claim to never be truly certain about anything is nothing more than virtue signaling. You pretend to have that attribute, but do not actually possess or practice that attribute.
Your language policing is not useful. Scientists don't speak that way. It's neither clear or productive. They prefer to speak with clarity and conviction, but their language is not meant or understood to mean certainty. They are under constant pressure to quantify probabilities and error margins whenever possible. Source: I've read many science publications. I personally know many scientists. I also am a published researcher in peer-reviewed journals.
I never would have established this rule over a year ago if the rule did not have a purpose, function, and use. The rule's function is to separate the wheat from the chaff and filtering out people who don't claim to be certain about anything. It's there to help filter out unreasonable arguments, like whether or not I have a nose on my face. Scientific progress and productivity depends on building on a foundation.
What you are effectively doing is filtering out the scientists.
I know Karl Popper claimed certainty is pseudoscience, but I can't disagree more. Denying or being blind to the truth that is right in front of your face, that is pseudoscience. And despite my best efforts to resuscitate twirly Socrates, he has chosen to perish, and will no longer be permitted to participate on the debate board. Unless by a miracle he changes his mind. I'm gonna miss him. Thank you all for watching.